Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, it seems the Tories are running true to form. They must wake up in the morning thinking, we got some stuff to wind you up. To wind you up. Wind you up. We've got some stuff to wind you up because we think you're thick. That's what the Tories must be saying every single morning when they wake up, right? Because these guys, right, you know, I don't know. It must be a planting. They must go to sleep in the night, write some stuff down, and think, when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna have a look at this and just wonder if I can put it out there. Our new Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng. Sure, he's the first black Chancellor. And when I say black, I mean in the very loosest of terms now, obviously. Yeah, because the first thing that springs to mind when you hear about Kwasi Kwarteng is coconut, and how dare you? How very dare you? Or bounty, how very, because we're not going to supposed to be going down those lines. Do you know what I mean? The Liz Truss has just given us a cabinet of coconuts. That was a term that was someone coined that term, and the right, when they're going crazy up in there over it, they're really losing their minds. When you call these people what they really are, in America, like the Republicans have been called fascists, and they're right, and over here, right, someone's called the Tory cabinet, right, a bunch of coconuts. That's obviously all the black and brown ones, because it's things like sitting in a room, right, around a cabinet table, when they look at you and say, well, something, anyone who looks like you want to send to Rwanda, and you're like, it's a good idea, it's a fair point, because I don't even like people that look like me, so how are you going to like me? Anyway, Kwasi Kwarteng, right, has decided one of his first big announcements will be that he's going to lift the cap on bankers' bonuses. Who the fuck gives a fuck? Seriously. Okay, fair enough, right? If we allow bankers, right, to run riot, right, then they've got a good chance of bringing the whole banking system down. But they should just bring in some regulations for that. But there's not that many bankers. There's a few thousand of them, right? Well, yeah, a few thousand of them. Let's just say, right. So we say, well, what the fuck has that got to do with the rest of us? Right. The bonuses and the big wages that we really care about, right, are the ones that are going to the utility company bosses, people who's delivering water to your house, right, and they're getting £1.5 million a year plus bonuses to deliver water to your house. The shit that falls out the sky, like, something. But we've got to be able to get those big bucks because we know the appropriate time to put the sewage into the waterways. And that's why we get the big money, the big dollars, because we know how to do that at the appropriate time. So bankers, so they're saying we're going to lift the cap on bankers' bonuses. And I said, well, why the fuck do we care about the fucking overprivileged, right? But these people, you see what these people do? They're very smart because they say, oh well, what about footballers? Football again. Say, well, again, right, footballers, right, are getting, it's all private money, and then, right, if a footballer makes a mistake, they're not going to bring down the whole of the FA on one mistake, but a banker making mistakes, right, they can bring down the whole banking system, as they proved back in 2008, right? So, right, I don't know why they think it's appropriate for them to start winding us up, right, for no reason at all. Say, oh, something, what we're going to do because of, and they're using the whole Brexit thing as well. They're saying, oh, because of Brexit, this has given us the freedoms so we can, like, unshackle the bankers, right, and let them have as much bonuses as they want. Right? Why is this in the news? It's in the news, yeah, because it's there to wind you people up, because they know, and now stay with me on this, that you're thick. They know you're a stupid racist, right? And And so they know that they can say these things, right, and just divert your attention for a minute. Because everyone, you've got people now, right, who are working on building sites talking about fucking bankers' bonuses. The fuck has it got to do with them? It's only, it's only a few thousand people. Can't we talk about, like, maybe the cost of living crisis that, that all of us, the rest of us are going through? Bankers aren't going for a cost of living crisis, but all the rest of us are. And one of his first big policies is to come out and say, we are going to get banker bonuses. Look at us. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. And a special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can. But I will like all your messages for definite. We've had 2 police officers stabbed this morning in Leicester Square. I believe that this person could have well been running around with a knife, and these police officers have stepped in and stopped this person from stabbing members of the public. Right, so we have to wish these police officers a very speedy recovery, and let's all hope for the best for them. Because obviously, these are the guys who really do go and throw themselves, in mortal danger for us all the time. Whatever the situation, whatever you think of the police, right? The truth is, right, that if you're there and you was being attacked by someone with a knife or whatever, a police officer would go and put themselves in harm's way, right, to save your life. So so we've got to hope that these police officers make a full and speedy recovery. I believe that the suspect is also in hospital because he probably got his ass tased and gassed, right? And if it was anything to do with me, he'd have been beaten with a truncheon as well. One of that little nightstick thing what they got, right? But I would have said I want a wooden one for this shit, a long wooden pole, right, to beat his ass after he's running about in the fucking West End at 6 a.m. in the morning, right, trying to stab people. So let's wish them a speedy recovery. Let's move. Let's go internationally for a few minutes, right? The Ukraine have been digging up mass graves, right, after the motherfucking crazy ass Russians, right? Because they've taken back a lot of territory from these fucking savage motherfuckers, right? And I think they just dug up one that's like, I think 400 bodies in this mass grave. It's good though because because we're seeing the real the barbarity right now. But again, right, all over Africa, all over America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, there are thousands and probably just hundreds of thousands of mass graves. Because when you murder, right, thousands of people, you have to you can't, it's not like you can go to give them all an individual burial. Do you know what I mean? You just have to just dig a big hole and just throw them all in there. So there are countless that could possibly be dug up, right, that have been left behind by us. Right, so it's good that these ones are being dug up now, so people can see the barbarity. Do you know what I mean? And people will know. Well, you know what? If Putin steps 1 foot outside of fucking Russia, right, his ass should end up in the Hague. That's the first place he should end up, in the Hague, if he steps 1 foot outside of Russia. And we stay internationally because in Italy they're just about to vote in a far right government. What is wrong with these motherfucking people? Right, what is wrong with these people? Right? These people don't want to live in harmony with anybody. Do you know what I mean? They've been able to do around the world, right, what they've wanted to do, right, for hundreds of years. And in the at the end of the back of the 20th century and going through to the 21st century, do you know what I mean? People are starting to be much more equal. Right, and you can't, it's much more difficult, right, to go and like steal and rob people's countries and rape all their women and all that type of bullshit. It's a lot more difficult to do all that shit now. I mean, you see the problems that Russia are having with it. It's all over the internet. Right, before when other countries had their empires, there was no internet, but there is now. So all these things are documented now. So so Italy, I mean this government, what they look like they're going to be voted in, yeah. They're like, I think they're a faction of like Mussolini, right? The guy who I'm sure it was him that brought us the term fascism. I'm sure it's Mussolini, right? So this is a breakaway part of his party. She might even be a distant, the woman who they're talking about, yeah, who's a far right. If you see how this woman does talk, she's like Donald Trump, a good looking version of Donald Trump, of course, but she's like Donald Trump. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't understand these people. These people are very, very weak minded, right? They are frightened, right? They are, they just seem very, very scared. Do you know what I mean? You think to yourself, whether or not, someone's coming to live in your country or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You are, you're so far ahead of that person, and it shouldn't really concern you to the point where, what, I want to vote in a far right government because we've got to get rid of these blacks and these bloody Asians. You people are some very sad, very, very sad individuals. So let's move over to Sweden, right? Who have just voted in a far right government, right? Well, I think that the coalition what's been voted in has got some far right, very far right elements in it again. Do you know what I mean? All of these places. You say, something, yeah, right? Europe, right, went around the world. Europe did, right? The rest of the world didn't come to Europe. Europe went around the rest of the world. And if you want to know the truth about that, just go down to any of the museums in all of these countries in Europe, right? You can go down to some of our very own museums and see all the shit that's in there and ask where all that's come from. See where it's all come from. Right? Whether, you think they found it all in the Highlands, right? Or, or in the Brecons, Yorkshire. All those places, they've got their own museums. They keep all their own shit in their own towns. You come down to London and see some of the museums and see some of the shit what we got in our museums. You go to France, you go to Germany, you go to Italy, you go to Spain, you go to Portugal. All these places, they've got artifacts, right, of where they've gone and robbed the motherfucking shit out of these countries, stolen all their shit, right? Left their countries bare. Right? Like your backside when it comes out of the fucking shower. Bare. That'd be a bare rare. You understand? Right? And these people, right, now have the motherfucking cheeks to, oh, well, you know something, yeah? We're going to vote for the fucking far right because, you know what, we don't fucking want none of these people here. Even though your fucking previous actions is why I'm here, because of your previous actions. I'm not here because I wanted to be here, because I wanted to be born in fucking England. I'd prefer to be born in motherfucking Africa, where I was supposed to be born. Right? So, it's not our fault. Right? You look at the black and Asian people, and even the ones who are trying to come over here now, right? Because their countries have been left in some fucking shitholes. Right? We want to go and fucking live. Would you want to live in Eritrea? Or fucking Libya or Syria or Iraq? Would you want to live there? Nice and warm, right? But these places are so fucking unstable, right? That you'd want to bring your family to somewhere where I know that the fucking army is not going to burst through my fucking door, right? And the fucking soldiers are going to come and start raping my fucking daughter and my wife in front of me. Because that's what we've left people in. That's the type of shit that we've left people in. And we move over to America because America's got some serious problems, right? You've got all these like Congress persons and these senators, right? The Republicans, of course, right? The stuff what these guys are coming out with. I mean, they talk about like the January 6th, criminals. the insurrectionists, as if these guys are some type of freedom fighters. They've been locked in prison because they're the colour. Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? She is America's answer to Nadine Dorries, but just on steroids, right? With a big gulp of ecstasy and a big shot of vodka. Marjorie Taylor Greene. As I said, it's because of the colour of their skin why they're locked away in prison. No, it's because they tried to take over the US government. Right? Because all these people, and these people was involved in it as well, and they've still got them in the Senate. They've still got them in Congress, and they was involved in this shit. Right? And you look at the Democrats. The Democrats are just getting on with government, right? Bringing in, right? New laws about about the cost of drugs, right? So that so people aren't, if people are ill, they're not going to be bankrupt, right? They've made sure that the costs are much lower. Even if you've got a really serious illness, right? You can pick up, because they all have to pay for their stuff. So you can pick up, right? Prescriptions for really serious illnesses from where it's not going to break the bank anymore. Right, the infrastructure bill what they've just brought out, right? Where they're building roads, building bridges, all the infrastructure of the country, right? And the Republicans, are talking about the fucking insurrectionists, people who try, right? The violent insurrectionists, and talking about if Donald Trump, right, gets any charges, right, then there's going to be violence on the street. You've got senators coming out and saying that there's going to be violence on the street. This is how far these people have gone down the fascistic line. These people are seriously, they're seriously ill in America. There's something wrong with these people, right? You got the Democrats, doing stuff for the veterans, right? The Republicans stopped the bill, right? For some type of payment for the veterans, and they're high fiving each other. Right, while the Democrats are trying to get this bill through so that they can look after the veterans, right? The Republicans got to stop it at first. I think it's gone through now, but they got to stop it at first, and they're high fiving themselves. Right, supposed to be the people of law and order, right? But when you've got police officers getting sprayed with bear spray, right, and being beaten with poles. And these people are saying, these guys, they're not criminals. They should be allowed to be, come out of prison, right? Because they're being held there, right? And they're not being given gluten-free food. I say, well, prison is not supposed to be a holiday camp. Not supposed to be nice there. But seriously, while the Democrats are getting on with government, right? Student loans, trying to cut off a load of money off student loans, and the Republicans, the IRS are going to come round your house with AR-15s and shoot you. That's their government they're getting on with. Democrats getting on with government. The Republicans. So, America's got some serious problems. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but they have. And we've got some stories to wind you up. Because obviously, there are stories what you can't do anything about. So they're there to deliberately wind your ass up. Prince Charles will not have to pay inheritance tax. What? We didn't know this? The 675 million pounds, right? Stately home, or mansions, or palace, or whatever the hell it is that the Queen's has given him. I think it must be, is it Balmoral? Whichever one it is, right? The Queen's has given him 675 million. That's what it's worth. So just put a few more 100 million on that, yeah, and you're going up to $1 billion. That the shit's worth, but it's probably worth over that anyway. Right, that's just a valuation. But if he was to try and sell it, which obviously he couldn't anyway, but if he was to try and sell it, right, you'd probably be going up. You'd probably got over £1 billion anyway, because there are what it's like, to part. It's quite easy to get a fool to part with their money, right? Especially when you've had royalty living somewhere. So all those billionaires, every single one of the world's billionaires would be like, oh, well, I'm going to have that. So, it could go 10, 12 billion quite easily. Right? Well, is it high growth? Whichever one it is. Do you know what I mean? Whatever what she's giving him. Do you know what I mean? So, so it's a story just to wind you up. Right? And more stories just to wind you up. MPs are being given priority, right? To file past the Queen's coffin, and they're allowed to take 4 people with them. And say, well, seriously, why do you need to put that into the newspapers? Because it's a story just to wind you up. Just in the same way your bankers' bonuses, just to wind you up. Because we got some shit just to wind you up. To wind you up. Seriously, these people, they wake up in the morning, right, and you just wake up and you go, here, babe, what are we going to do today to wind these motherfuckers up? And they do it because they hate you. People have been queuing up to 9 hours. Well, it's actually 11 now because I wrote this yesterday. So people, up to that point, it was 9 hours, but this morning it's up to 11 hours to file past the coffin, right, of one of the world's most privileged people to have ever lived. In my world, right, every death, right, should garner this type of attention, because every death, right, is a tragedy for somebody. It's a tragedy for some family. Every single death, right? But I look at these people, and I think they've got far too much time on their hands. I'm just trying to think, yeah. I'm just trying to think if I can say this would be the last thing that I would ever think of doing. I'm going to go and take my time to go and look at the coffin of one of the richest women to have ever lived and the most privileged women to have ever lived. Am I allowed to think that these people are stupid? Am I allowed to think that these people are a bunch of big stupid klutzes? Am I allowed to think that? I must be, surely. A pub in Bristol is closing down due to the high prices of the gas and the electric. So they say, you know what, we have a clause, our doors. Our doors have a clause. I don't know why they've gone on West Indian, but that's what they was. That's what it is. It was our doors have a clause. I mean, so, this country now, businesses can't, imagine that. Just imagine that, right? Now, I would just like you to stop me. If you just jump through the computer and just stop me, or your phone, or laptop, or your iPad, or or your other form of tablet. If you just jump through there and stop me when you're ready. Well, if you think I've gone wrong somewhere. Now, we're borrowing. We're gonna borrow, right? Hundreds of millions of billions of pounds to pay the energy companies that they have sold off, who are now supplying us a product that many people cannot afford to have pumped into their house. We've sold off all of the smaller companies that supply us, right? Plus we've sold off the major one that supplies them, BP. Did I get any of that wrong? Is that what's happened in this country, right? Because we have pubs not able to pay their lecky bill. The lecky can't pay it. Not can't pay, won't pay. This is can't pay, can't pay. let's move on to actually Nigel Farage believes that the FA, right, should walk away from European football because FIFA do not allow countries to play the national anthem. And Nigel said, you know what, we want them to play God Save the King, and if they don't, right, we should, hold on, we say Footsits, no. We say, hold on, I'm sure I thought of a term for this. We'll have to go with footsit, a footsit from the from the UEFA Cup and the Champions League, and so, I mean, we should move away from all these things because Nigel Farage feels that because they won't allow countries to play their national anthem, and you've got to remember, we are better than all of them because we are British, right? So they, how dare they? Who the hell do these people think they are, not allowing us to play the national anthem? It's a liberty, so we should walk away, right? Because we don't need them. They need us more than we need them, right? And how'd that go for us last time? I'll tell you how that went for us last time. One of our biggest cucumber sellers in the UK has had to close their cucumber business down. And if you see the size of this motherfucker, if you see the size of this, right, it's so big, yeah, they can get probably 20 housing estates on there. If you see the size of this motherfucker, and they've had to close it down, right, because, right, the utility costs and Brexit, that dreadful word, Brexit. Right. So this company, yeah, right. When I tell you, I looked at the size of this company, and I was massive. But even back in January, right, the guy's just like, you know what, I ain't planting no cucumbers this year. No, because the utility cost is already too high. That was back in January. So now they've just said, you know what, the whole operation's closed down. She's going to build housing on it now. You know, that is Brexit. That is Brexit Britain. And the DUP Edwin Poots, who breached the Brexit imposed legal obligations, right? Remember when he done that, right? And he stopped the and he put a halt to the Irish sea border checks for a little while, right? Obviously, that's something that's completely illegal because it's written. These things are written, so he can't actually do that. So now he's in court. Do you know what I mean? I say, well, if it's the law, it's the law. I don't know why they're in court, because I don't suppose that would be the place to change the court's mind. You'd probably have to go to the High Court to say, well, the law is wrong. That's what the problem is. The law is wrong because the law is the law, and if you breach the law and you go to court, a judge just normally says, well, you know, you've given me no option here because it's written in the law. So let's see how that situation works out. And in Oxford City, in the Oxford City Mail, so that must be a little newspaper where they get in Oxford, right? They can't find enough bus drivers and they're blaming Brexit. Do you think it's Brexit? I do. But no, they can't find enough bus drivers and they've put it down to Brexit because obviously they could get enough bus drivers before, but they can't now because, you know, a lot of these jobs, yeah, a lot of jobs now, yeah, people can get a lot of jobs that are like, you know, especially when they're working around that minimum wage stuff. I mean, they can get, yeah, other jobs that are much more convenient, right? Because, you know, driving buses is not an easy job. It's not an easy job, you know, because you're dealing with the general public, and that's never nice. Dealing with the general public is never nice, because the general public are horrible bastards. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to have to deal with the general public on a daily basis. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, I could imagine that bus drivers are like, you know what, you know, they wake up in the morning and think, oof. It's just like, you know, someone who has to wake up, who was waking up early in the morning before to go and work in like an airport. You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go and stamp some fucking fool's tickets, and they're all day. You know what I mean? And now they could do another job, right, that's a lot easier, where they don't have to wake up them type of unsocial times and deal with horrible members of the public. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to wrap this up. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.